Hello, I'm Mbweha. You can call me Ben of Team Relentless, and this is a video where we are going to go over some of the biggest changes from Legion 2.5. Today is the 17th of January, 2023. The new rules were updated yesterday. The Core Rulebook was released for the first time ever. We have a Core Rulebook, which is pretty cool. I'm not going to go over all of the changes. I am going to go over the changes that I think are the biggest, most significant ones, and I'm going to do a deep dive into cover. I'm also going to give you a warning that I'm going to get a little bit salty. I'm going to try to not be too salty, but there's going to be a little bit of salt. I usually try to really keep that to a minimum whenever I'm talking to the community, but there are some changes that I'm pretty disappointed in, but we'll get to that. It'll be okay. Everything's going to be fine. All right, let's get started right away. We're going real high tech here. I've got a Google Slides presentation for you. We're going over the big changes. In this video, we're going to cover tiebreakers, assigning wounds, panic, climbing, determining line of sight. We're going to look at some visual examples, and we're going to go over how I wish determining line of sight worked with visual examples. That is the plan. Here we go. Tiebreakers. This is from the Galactic Conquest event rules on page 2. Tiebreakers are, this isn't new. If VPs are tied, it goes to points destroyed, destroying an entire unit. But now, if that is tied, the winner is whoever had the lower bid. The rules state it as whoever used like almost all their points or whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is whoever had the bigger bid is actually now at a disadvantage. So the lower bid, closer to 800 points, that's the tiebreaker. If it were still tied after that, it would go to a draw. I think that this won't come up very often, but it is a change that affects the way tournaments work quite a bit. I don't love draws, but whatever. That's okay. This is fine. Assigning wounds, this is a great change. This is from the Core Rulebook on page 31. When you attack a unit, you have to agree upon how many wounds could be given to the defending unit. So you have to figure out how many minis are in line of sight getting shot at. And then once those wounds are assigned, as usual, wounded units must receive additional wounds first, and then the unit leader has to receive them last. So that might not sound any different. What's different here is that you don't have to have line of sight to a mini for it to receive wounds. So something that's totally out of line of sight can receive wounds. So like a sniper strike team with one totally hidden behind a building could receive a maximum of 1 wound, and that wound would first be assigned to the non-leader mini, assuming that they have the leader, the sniper, out sticking their face out and the other one's hidden behind. So that's cool. I like that. I think that's been a long time coming. So no more terrain scoping, as it used to be called. As a little bonus here, to attack, the unit leader has to have line of sight to at least 1 mini in the defending unit. But more defending minis may be made eligible to receive damage based on the attacking unit's cohesion. In other words, sometimes you used to see players, the unit leader would be totally hidden behind a building and you just like swing a heavy weapon out and take a pot shot. You can't do that anymore. The unit leader itself has to be able to contribute dice to the attack. No, that's not true. Has to be able to see the target. And then you can make more models eligible to receive damage by cohering with your attacking unit. So, good changes there. Panic. This is different. It's interesting. It's pages 19 and 22 of the Core Rulebook. A unit can be considered panicked like at any time. So if it has suppression equal to or greater than its courage or the courage of a nearby commander, then it's considered panicking. Well, what does that mean? Panicked units don't score objectives at the end of the game. So for intercept, for breakthrough, for recover, they don't count. Now, also different, a unit that is panicked after its rally roll is going to drop any objective tokens it has. It's going to remove suppression equal to its courage value, and then its turn is over. So no more fleeing the battlefield as a result of panic, just basically losing your turn and recovering suppression equal to your courage value, and then continuing on. So that's that. Climbing is my favorite change. I love this. Page 25 of the Core Rulebook. I love this. No more climb and clamber. They're totally gone from the game. There's just a new movement action called climb, which uses a 1-speed tool to move up to height 1. I played a game yesterday, and it's awesome. It's a great change. If it seems alarming to you, trust me, try it. It's a great change. If you have expert climber, you can go up to height 2 with that 1-speed move. Now, bonus, note that units with scale still climb at speed 1. I was confused about that at first, so I mentioned it. Maybe it's obvious to everyone else. But having scale gives you expert climber, so you can go up to height 2, and it gives you unhindered, so you can go on difficult terrain, but that doesn't change the fact that your climb is still at a speed 1. Bonus, note that regular moves that would cause a unit to travel vertically more than the height of its silhouette, no longer allowed. So what that means is, the bonus, the beginning of the game, if you're playing on a map that has stairs or ladders, you got to talk about how those work, because technically walking up stairs, if this is my silhouette for my trooper mini and I go up the stairs this high, I can't speed to that. Technically that's a climb, has to be a climb, because you're not allowed to do that. Unless, of course, you talk about it first. So just talk about it first and say, hey, of course, if we go up the stairs, we can use, we don't have to reduce our speed when we're using the stairs, or, if we're against a ladder, or if the path of our climb would use the ladder, we're granted expert climber. I would say it like that. If the path of your climb would overlap a ladder on something, it should grant expert climber. That's not in the rules, but that would be really a good way of ruling it with your opponent beforehand. Okay. Here's the big one. Thanks for sticking through the easy, fun stuff. All those other changes, for the most part, I really like. These are rough. I mean, frankly, I think that they screwed up with these, and I'll show you why. So first, I'm going to tell you how it works. And as a side note, I'm not going to do a deep dive into how it works. I'm going to do an overview of how it works, and I'm going to show you some pictures. And the reason why I'm doing that is because they have said very clearly that these rules can change, and they can change quickly. We don't have to wait like every 6 months for an update. So I'm really hoping that they see that, like, oops, we screwed this up. And I really hope that, it would be huge to me, and I think to a lot of people in the community, for AMG to come out and say, oops, this we thought this was going to be great. It wasn't, and so we changed it. And that, I would give them mad respect for doing that. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, the way that you determine line of sight is from one entire silhouette to another entire silhouette. I think of it like a flashlight. Helps me visualize it. So if you think about the silhouette of a mini, it shines like a flashlight towards the other silhouette. You need to know that troopers and repulsor vehicles, troopers of all kinds and repulsor vehicles, they never block line of sight. You need to know that ground vehicles, their silhouettes, always block line of sight. And I'm going to tell you why this is a problem. So here's the creature trooper problem. This is the scenario. We've got Iden and Jin with a dewback in between them. And in this shot, you can see from Jin's perspective, she can't see Iden's model at all. But because the dewback is a creature trooper that does not block line of sight, this is actually an open shot. So Jin would be shooting at Iden in the open. Jin would be shooting through the dewback at a target she can't see in the open. Now, if you're thinking, Ben, calm down, there's been many other examples of non-intuitive shooting stuff. Sure, that's fine. But the goal was, I'm assuming the goal was to change rules to make the game more intuitive, easier to teach new players, to streamline things so that it still has nuance, but it is there's no I gotcha moments. This is a huge I gotcha moment for a new player, where something is frustrating because it's not intuitive. You're shooting at something you can't even see, and it's in the open. Okay, so that's that one. That's a creature trooper problem explained. The ground vehicle problem. This one really, I'm probably the saltiest about this one. Here's the scenario. I replaced the dewback with an ATST. Jin wants to shoot Iden. She can't. The silhouette of the ATST, which goes from the top of the ATST down to its base, completely blocks line of sight. So enjoy explaining to a new player, actually, you can't shoot at Iden, Jin, because rules, even though it's totally unintuitive that you can't take that shot. It's going to be fine. I'm going to try to not be too salty. I got to tone it down. So that's the problem with that. That's this shot where you can totally see, they can see each other, is not allowed to be taken. They're totally blocked. Okay, the barricade problem. That you've seen, if you've been paying attention, you've seen people online talking about this, I'm sure. I'm going to show it to you with troopers first. So replacing the ATST with a barricade. Let's look from Iden's perspective. From Iden's perspective, like, oh man, she's nice and close to that barricade. Poor Jin, she's going to get shot up by Iden. except that's actually heavy cover. Jin has heavy cover in this shot because you basically play as if it's a two-dimensional playing field for this. So they've improved the way that things climb, and then they made all cover just like this two-dimensional stuff that's really not very intuitive. So because you have to target even from the base of the model, it goes through the barricade, and so Jin has heavy cover in this scenario. So that's a barricade problem. Here is the worst version of the barricade problem. Let's replace Aiden with an ATST and slide that barricade over to the side. This shot, if the ATST was shooting at Jin, she currently has heavy cover in this shot, because right here to right there goes through the barricade. So Jin, from Jin's perspective, there's the massive chicken walker bearing down on her. It's going to blow her to smithereens, except she has heavy cover from that barricade in the distance. It's fine. I'm sure it's fine. I'm overreacting. Here's the box problem. The box problem is, here's Aiden and Jin again, with Jin standing up on a box. Here's Aiden shooting at Jin. Jin is benefiting from the cover of that crate right there. If you said it was heavy cover, if you said it was light cover, whatever it was, she is benefiting from that, even though she's standing on top of the box like an idiot, because you have to target from the bottom of Aiden's silhouette and the top. The bottom is going to go through that crate as it targets the backside of Jin's base. So if you stand up on like any amount of elevation at all, suddenly you benefit from that terrain, basically as if it was area terrain. If it's area terrain, it makes sense, right? We were always imagining area terrain to be sort of like it's unclear. There's like bushes you can't necessarily see, but like scatter terrain is supposed to be like, this is it. This is the defined piece. And so that's the box problem. All right, and the archway problem. Okay, we've got an ATST trying to shoot at Jin right here, and here's from Jin's perspective. She's going to get shot by its toes because the ATST can make attacks from its toes, because it's any part of the silhouette of that ATST can make the shot. So even though from the ATST's perspective, from the top here, it could not see any part of Aiden at all, from the guns, from any... It can shoot its toe lasers. Maybe they're inspired from that scene in The Mandalorian where Boba Fett like shoots a knee rocket. Maybe ATSTs have knee rockets now. I don't know. This archway here is fairly tall. This problem will be exacerbated the lower the archway is and the wider the path is that's on top of the archway. So keep that in mind. This might seem like that'll never happen. Well, it depends on if you play with archways or not. And the lower the archway, the more this sort of thing is going to come up. Okay. This is how I wish it worked. I'm going to fix all the problems. I'm not just here to complain. If I was not a competitive player, if all I did was play with friends at home, I would insist that we use the following rules as my house rules. I hope, I pray that parts of what I'm proposing here may eventually become part of the real rules. I have no power over AMG to do that, of course, but this solves, what I'm about to propose solves all of the previous problems that I just outlined. So instead of targeting from the entire silhouette of the attacker to the entire silhouette of the defender, just target from the top layer of the silhouette of the attacking miniature to all parts of the target silhouette. So if we think about all those images we just saw with the cylinders, it's the top disc of the cylinder, all parts of that top disc firing. This solves almost all of the problems. Here's another thing to change things up so it's intuitive for new players, intuitive for everybody. Small base troopers and repulsor vehicles never block line of sight. That makes sense. They're zooming along really fast and they're just like small troopers. But emplacement troopers, creature troopers, and ground vehicle minis, the actual physical plastic model, could block line of sight. So that dewback scenario, for example, or an FD laser cannon has that huge dish that right now is just like not there for the purposes of determining line of sight, but it would be there for that. And then the silhouettes of emplacement and creature troopers would give light cover, and the silhouettes of ground vehicles grant heavy cover. I don't think this is easier than it was before, and it's intuitive. So top layer fires, Small base troopers and repulsors never block line of sight. Emplacement troopers, creature troopers, ground vehicles. The minis only block line of sight, and the silhouettes of emplacement and creature troopers grant light cover. Silhouettes of ground vehicles grant heavy cover. Let's walk through each of the, literally the exact same pictures again and see how it fixed it. The creature trooper problem is gone because now I can't see Iden, I can't shoot her because I'm targeting from just this top section right here. I can't see her. Can't see any part of her silhouette. Let's imagine that I was smarter and when I moved Jin, I moved her just, 2 millimeters to the left and I'd be able to see Iden. And that shot would have light cover because the creature trooper would grant light cover. Problem solved. Ground vehicle problem. This right here, you can take the shot because not only am I targeting from the top, but the silhouette of the ground vehicle itself won't block line of sight. I can see it, I can shoot it, is the bottom line. That's been everybody's complaint for so long. If I see it, I should be able to shoot. If you can see it, you should be able to shoot it. I totally agree. This would be a heavy cover shot because it's standing behind a ground vehicle. And that even might be a bit of a challenge. I don't know, maybe it's a heavy cover shot because Jin's really nervous about getting stomped on, whatever. Yeah, I can still make it work in my head for why it makes sense. So that problem's solved. Barricade problem. All right, I'm going to target from Iden's perspective, just from that top disc right there. From that top disc, targeting towards all parts of Jin's silhouette. It doesn't go through the barricade. In reverse, from Jin's perspective, it would go through the barricade. So getting closer to that barricade has a big advantage, and you don't have to actually touch it in order to gain the benefit of being near it. Just being near it helps. So that barricade problem solved. Again, the barricade problem from the ATST's perspective. The ATST firing from it doesn't have a cone in TTS, so I can do it, but from this cone up here, if you imagine a cone, the top of the cylinder up here, firing down at Jin, it's not going to go through the barricade, and that makes sense. It's now doesn't have cover. It's in the open. Jin is in the open to the ATST with these suggested rules. Box problem is solved. Same thing. Targeting from Iden from the top of her cylinder, because she's taller than the lowest part of Jin's base. She can shoot at her in the open there, which is how that used to work anyway. And that makes sense. You jump up on a box, you're an easier target, not a harder one. I mean, I know Star Wars have the high ground and all that, but anyway. So the archery problem also solved from the ATST's perspective from the top. Can't see Jin, so you can't fire at her. Problem solved. There's no way to see Jin's silhouette from the ATST's perspective, so no shot can be taken from the tow lasers. I'm going to leave these up here for a hot second to remind you of what they were. I'm serious. Like if I'm going to LVO here in a couple weeks, or a week and a half, which I'm pumped about, and I guess maybe if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. I'm willing to admit if it works out that the way that they wrote them was great, that'd be fine. But if I wasn't going to a big competitive event, when a friend came over to play, I would say, hey, I'd like to use these homebrew rules, these house rules for how it works, because it's intuitive. It really is. If you can see it, you can shoot it, and things get covered in a way that makes sense, and it's just a lot better. So that's what I have to say about that. I hope that wasn't too salty. I hope that if it was really salty, that you'll forgive me. I do really like a lot of the new changes. I love the new climb. I love the new assigning wounds. There's a lot of changes I think are kind of a wash, and that's fine. I'm bent out of shape about cover and determining line of sight, and silhouettes blocking line of sight doesn't make any sense to me. And maybe I'm alone. I don't think I'm alone. And maybe I care more than other people. I don't know. But anyway, I hope that this video has been informative to you about what some of the major changes are. I hope that I've convinced you that the cover rules are bad, which I hate doing. Like, I want to be on the same side as the people making the game, but they're not good. And I hope that maybe you can try out the Mbweha cover rules, and I hope if they work well, say so, and maybe we can get some things improved. So we'll see what happens. All right, I'm Mbweha. You can call me Ben of Team Relentless. This has been the big changes of Legion 2.5, focusing on cover and how I wish it would change. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.